and welcome to the Palma Pioneer Pantry. My name is Marin, if you're new here, and this is the Palma Pioneer Pantry. This is our kitchen. This is where I do all of our cooking and most of our food preservation, and I just wanted to take some time today to show you what we've got going on here. This is real life. Kitchen's not perfectly clean, but I realized that if I was gonna wait until my kitchen was perfectly clean and organized before I did an introduction to the Palma Pioneer Pantry, it was never gonna get done. So here we are today. This is our kitchen. It is mostly finished, mostly set up the way that I want it to be. We got new countertops recently, and so I do still need to sand and paint, and then I am going to put a shelf across here for our spices so that I have this counter space back. Let's see. I will do a full tour of the kitchen later, so I'm not going to do it right now, but I will kind of pan around and then I'll show you our dining room where we eat all of our meals, and I do some of our food preparation there. And then when I'm done with that, we'll head outside. No, first we're going to go downstairs to the pantry and I'll show you that, and then we'll head outside and I'll show you the outdoor spaces that we're working with as we start to grow our own food this year. So give me 1 second to turn the camera around and we'll take a quick tour of the kitchen. Okay, so like I said, this is where our stove is and our spices. I also have kind of my appliance tower here. And then we have our kind of kitchen sink, drying station. Yes, lots of dishes on the counter right now. We keep our food in this cupboard and on this shelf. We have another kind of prep area. This is where I do most of our baking and a fair amount of other food prep. And then we have our fridge. And then if we come in here, this is our dining room. We've got a pretty small house, so it's very close to the living room. And as you can see, I have it's a Costco croissant package on the table because we are going to be starting some seeds. I didn't think I was going to be able to do that this year. I didn't think I'd have the bandwidth, but I think we're going to be able to start some of them. It's a little bit late to be starting seeds, but better late than never, right? So let's head down to the pantry downstairs and kind of show you that. And it's definitely a little bit different from the last time you saw it. So as you come down our stairs, the first thing you see is our food preservation tool shelf. Has other random things on it right now as well. But then you come around through the kind of family room, real life, lots of clean laundry to be folded today. You've got kind of tools, and then a follower suggested that I use our 5-gallon buckets and boards to create extra shelving. And I took apart an IKEA bed frame that we were replacing and used that to follow her suggestion, and it has worked pretty well. It's definitely a temporary solution because I would like to have a little bit easier access to those buckets eventually, but we also still have this area for our dog food, water, and root crop storage. Then we come back over here, once again the laundry, and I still have not finished the food storage shelves that I'm planning, but that's okay because we still have these shelves. As you can see, they are a little bit more empty, but that's a good thing because it meant we went through a lot of food during our pantry challenge, and we can move on to the growing season in the summer with a fresh start. Okay, so that's the indoor portion of the Palma Pioneer Pantry. So let's head outside and I will show you what we're doing in our front yard and what we're doing in our backyard as we start to grow our own food.
I almost forgot. We're going to look at the freezer before we go out and look at the yard.
So if any of you have watched our pantry challenge videos, you've seen this freezer before. It is looking a little rough at the moment. It is fairly empty, which is good. But we also just went to Costco and had to fit stuff in this freezer and our inside freezer, so stuff is just kind of jumbled on top. I need to reorganize it. But the reason it's good that it's empty is because we are going in with friends to buy half a cow this year for the first time. All together we're buying half a cow, so we'll just get a quarter of a cow. And it needs to be empty enough to fit all of that meat in here. I'm really looking forward to learning to cook different cuts of beef, and just to kind of the food security of having all that meat in our freezer at once. It's a little bit daunting, but we're learning as we go. So this is our front yard. As you can see, we have a big pile of wood chips that we are still working on. That area right there where the wood chips are sitting is actually going to be where we plant our garden this year. And then over here, we have already started on our hugelkutur bed, where we are planning to eventually plant lots and lots of strawberries. Okay, so here we are in the backyard. This is our main garden area. It was mostly a garden area when we moved in a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now. We also have this giant pit of dirt, and then over here is just wood chips basically, and it was like that when we moved in. The previous owners had a play set right here that they took with them. We are probably going to use this area for chickens. We're going to build a coop kind of sort of under the tree so it gets a little bit of protection, and then we'll have a run. I'm not sure how big we'll make it. Sorry about the dogs. And if we get around to it before we move, I also want to plant fruit trees here along the edge where we don't have the chicken coop. This pile of dirt is going to go up front to our hugelkutur project, one wheelbarrow at a time, not that wheelbarrow. This garden area, probably the only thing we're going to get done this year is building the fence. We're going to have a fence there and then a fence along here. And then I'm also hoping that we can kind of level it out a little bit better and maybe start building the beds. We're going to do in-ground raised beds. So like I'll be humping up soil and compost in the bed areas and then putting a thin layer of wood shavings in all the walkways. Yeah, and I mean, if dreams do come true, eventually we'll have a little greenhouse right here, or maybe we'll decide to put it up here where it gets a little bit more sun, because this tree does provide a lot of shade during the summer. So we shall see. The only other portion of the yard that I wanted to show you is this part right over here. This tree also gives a lot of shade during the summer, but I didn't want this area to just be fallow or not have anything there. It is going to, I think, have a very hard time growing anything because one, the tree provides a lot of shade, and two, it drops a lot of leaves every year that I am not going to rake up. But last fall I planted winter rye, and I tried to plant the whole thing, and as you can see, not much of it is coming up, but I did have a really good successful patch right here. And I'm hoping that will bring up some nutrients and start to enrich the soil. I'll probably plant another cover crop here this summer, and then the winter rye again next summer, and then after that we'll start trying to plant some perennials that we're going to turn this area into kind of our perennial food area. I'm hoping to plant a couple of varieties of perennial kale to help feed our chickens, and we'll see what else we get into this spot. So that's the Palma Pioneer Pantry. I hope that you will join us as we learn to cook, as we eat better, and as we learn to grow, preserve, and store food for our family. We are learning as we go, and I hope that you'll come learn with us.